I almost hit it in time. I almost got it because I'm trying to do like 9 different things, and you're wondering if computers are going to behave.
They're
And
not.
no, not in time anyway. Not in a time frame where you're trying to get things done. By the way, it's a new week of Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer Down here. John here, Jarrett there. And Jarrett, I wanted to start this morning before we get into what everybody wants to talk about with Atlanta United and Toronto. I've got a little bit. I got a little bit of this, and just figured I'd bring this to the table this morning. Frankly, we have our listeners to thank. Over the weekend, with our time, see, there's no slam, there's no fade. That gets to me with this software. Anyway, over the weekend, we hit a bit of a milestone here with you to thank at SDH. We hit 2 million lives and downloads in our history here with the app and with Spreaker and with this carrier. Obviously, we had another number with our previous carrier, but then we came over here to Spreaker. But I wanted to let all of you know that thanks to all of you folks, we have cleared 2 million lives and downloads here at Soccer's Morning Show at SDH with all the teams and all the folks that come in and do interviews, those that come in and camp out, everybody with golden tickets, you guys who listen on and watch on a daily basis, 2 million lives and downloads, and we have you to thank for putting up with us 7 days a week. So congratulations to all of you as we hit a milestone here at SDH. So, Jared, I doff my cap to you early this morning.
I mean, we just kind of existed. At least I just kind of exist. So, I mean, yeah. It is weird, though, because, like, we've done it for so long, it just kind of feels like secondary now when you start looking at numbers like, oh, that's a large number.
Yeah. Huh?
Damn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, to your point, like, it's a matter of, can't do it without people listening. So thank y'all. And for, be it in the Twitch pitch, be it engaging in any sort of tomfoolery on the Twitch pitch, Discord, whatever it might be, we do appreciate it.
Yes.
Because it makes things more fun to have more people to enjoy the good times with and to commiserate on the bad times with.
Yeah. And the fact that we have, gone from, being a show and a network that talks about soccer in the South to a show and a network that talks about soccer that's based in the South with all the friends that we bring in. It's been very, very cool to see things continually advance. So once again, we have you to thank. That's your breaking news for the morning. That is not opening kickoff, by the way. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, and there's the QR code right in the middle of me and Jarrett for those of you who are watching live on Twitch this morning. What I wanted to do for the opening kickoff was take you back to the press conference with Gonzalo Pineda and then the post-game locker room from the 1-1 draw with Toronto. And obviously, we're going to talk about that this morning. And good morning to everybody who is not playing golf and is hanging out with us this morning here as we all fight with the yellow stuff that's on our cars. After the match, the way that it works now with Apple TV Plus is that at the home venue, the visiting coach comes in first. He answers questions both remotely and in person, and then he leaves. And then instead of it being just where the home coach would come in the previous years, it is now both coaches. So Bob Bradley comes in, he talks. And then after that, Gonzalo Pineda comes in. And the first question is, as always, with Doug Robertson of the AJC. Doug had a 2-part question. And what I did this time to lead things off this morning was to pull the first part of his first question, and that's kind of like our kickoff this morning. And here's how it went down, the exchange between Doug Robertson of the AJC and Gonzalo Pineda, head coach of Atlanta United. This was lead off from the press conference back Saturday night.
2 questions. First, did you get any explanations from the referee about the push of Etienne in the box that wasn't called a penalty? And then Prada appeared to be onside on the shot that resulted in Giakoumakis' goal. I was curious if you got a better explanation than I did. on those two calls.
I get the explanation of the referee is always right. That's what I got. So
Do you
after
agree
that,
with
you
that?
can. I haven't seen the plays, so probably you have a better angle, and if you have it and you think it was a mistake, talk about it, because I can't.
So, the incredibly diplomatic nature of Gonzalo Pineda. So, Jarrett, I know that when we all were kind of discussing everything that happened post match, I know a lot of folks were staring at the moment with Purata being on or offside. You go to Juanjo Purata's Twitter account, and he says he was on. And it's fun to have players, just have these kind of very, very quick responses about things that happen in a match these days. And I know that you and a lot of folks were looking more and more at the Derek Etienne moment that should have been called. And this is, I guess, kind of part of the rabbit hole that we'll be going down this morning. The match, there was a lot of latitude that was given to activity on the pitch. There were forearm shivers that weren't called, and play was allowed to play. And there were not a whole lot of whistles from the crew that was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. So having heard Gonzalo Pineda opening kickoff, your thoughts, sir, since we haven't had the chance to catch up.
I mean, Gonzalo did this last year too. In that, basically, referee's always right. You want to say something, you can, because I mean, he knows all he can do is what we see coaches do in other sports sometimes, which is absolutely blast the officials. Nothing positive ever seems to come out of it, and what always does come out of it seems to be coaches just getting fined and maybe even having things go against them. See Budenholzer, Mike, when he got into it with an NBA ref and actually was not punished by the league. And I think there was a physical, they bumped. And the referees were irate that he was not suspended and whatnot. And there was a functioning conspiracy theory for an extended period of time that the Hawks were getting gypped on close calls because of Budenholzer's actions, and then the lack of actions from the NBA towards him, and the referees are upset about it. Yeah, he's going to say it without saying it was basically what he did. You don't have to read too far between the lines to understand what he said. The Etienne one was weird to me, and I'm interested in other people's thoughts on it, because it's one of those, when he goes down at first, looks like they just kind of crowded him out. And then when you saw the replay, you're like, that might be a penalty.
Yeah.
It's not a surefire. Obviously, they didn't go down to the monitor to look at it. VAR looks at every play. Even if they don't send it down to the monitor, VAR is looking at everything and then can recommend a review. They must have looked at it, decided it wasn't enough, and it wasn't a clear and obvious error. It was close. And yeah, man, it's season's back, isn't it? We're mad at Pro again. And my issues with Pro went beyond, the Yakomaki goal that wasn't counted. I saw Juanjo Purata said he was onside, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I didn't like the way the game was managed overall by Nima Sagafi. I know we're kind of turning this into Monday Morning Salt, but for instance, Arujo is knocked around a lot in the first half without much of a whistle. It just felt inconsistent. Sometimes he was letting them play, and for both teams, not to wrangle this out to a both sides thing, but he was letting both teams play. But then sometimes he wasn't. Arguably the most egregious one is in the 70th minute or so, when Franco Ibarra, who had an amazing game, he put Bernadeschi in hell for most of that game, except when it mattered most, when Bernadeschi, when Atlanta gets stretched out, they break out of the press because it's not able to really pin them in as well. And then Bradley and Bernadeschi get on the run, and you have the goal that they score. Aside from that, though, there's a tackle he puts in on Michael Bradley where he puts a hand on Bradley's shoulder, reaches around his body with his right foot, and pulls the ball away from Bradley as smoothly as you like.
Mm-hmm.
And it should have been like a 4-on-2 for Atlanta in the attacking half.
Yeah.
And instead it gets whistled super late.
Oh.
And it was just like, that's the thing, man. Like, if you're going to call it tight, call it tight. You're going to call it loose. It kind of felt like at different stages of the game, he just changed his mind about how loose or tight he wanted to call it. Because there are a couple of turnovers that Atlanta forces with the counter press where I expected the whistle and it didn't come because a couple minutes earlier he had called something tight. And the consistency is literally the bare minimum of which I ask.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's very annoying. Oh yeah, Will's right. Joseto is the one who did the reach around steal. It's a damn perfect steal. It's Jose Alvarado for the New Orleans Pelicans-esque. Yeah, to Alex's point, the elbow to Luis's face, and that's Bernadeschi throwing that little chicken wing.
Yeah,
he throws that little chicken wing rabbit punch. It's not like a thrown elbow, not like a UFC thrown elbow.
Yeah,
but he knows what he's doing. It comes up high. You'll really get pissed off. Think about the 2017 game where Tito scores 2 goals in Toronto early in the season, where Atlanta has a red card in that game because Yamil Assad gets a red card. I forget who. God, I'll never remember who it was because I don't even remember Toronto's roster. Somebody basically sets up a screen, like puts their body in the way of Assad. He's trying to get around the guy and basically does like a defensive end swim move or kind of like a rip move, getting his arm up above the guy. And as he's going past him, he lifts his elbow trying to go over him like he's Dwight Freeney, and his elbow clips the guy and gets sent off for a red, man. The only thing I'm thinking about with Reggie White, the play that lives rent-free in my head for Reggie White, is still the one where the Minnesota Vikings tried to use Chris Carter as a lead blocker and just kind of sit him out in the flat. I think he was supposed to block and then leak out, and Reggie White didn't bite on the play fake. So it was Chris Carter trying to block Reggie White, and Reggie White just takes his forearm and throws him at the feet of Randall Cunningham, who kind of looks down like, the hell are you doing here?
Yep.
And throws him legitimately 6 or 7 yards. 2017,
are you talking about the match at BMO or the match here with Javinko?
It's the match at BMO Field.
Okay, so
it's a red card where his elbow is high. His elbow catches him in the head. It's one of those where you're going letter versus spirit of the law because the elbow is high. But he's kind of like, it's almost like he's doing a defensive line move trying to get around the guy, and he catches him with the elbow. So that's what makes the Bernadeschi one really frustrating because, it's a high elbow. I don't care if it's early in the match. It's a high elbow.
Okay. All right. So, I'm scanning the highlights as we're talking. So we get an early goal from Tito as Tito beats Mavinga. All right. So 20th minute, we're tied
I think.
Yeah, because it's in order. It looks like Javinko scores past Alec Can to tie it at 1. There's your replay. 36th minute, Javinko stops, goes back. Can hits it over the crossbar, so we're still tied at 1. I have to look.
Move.
Yeah. So I've got to see.
It's kind of like that rip swim like you would see Grady Jarrett do before getting flagged for having the temerity to tackle Tom Brady.
How dare you? All right, so Tito scores his second in the 47th, and we're tied at 2. Great ball over the top. Man, Richie Larea got beat on that one. By the way, the Richie Larea fall down meter was at 2 with the match. Spill, and nothing happening there as looks like Miggy with the shot, Tito with the follow as he tried to get the natural hat trick. 66th minute, looks like Josie on net, fairly simple. 69th minute, nice. With the left, just missed there. I know this is making for incredibly compelling radios. I'm trying to find a red.
Again, podcasting, visual medium for everybody.
Yes. Oh, God. Who was it that grabbed his head? Wait a second. Okay, 75th minute.
Yeah, that's about where it is. Because Atlanta, it's a damn good performance for Atlanta in that game. I know we're really like dragging things super far back, y'all. And this has literally nothing to do with what happened
That's
last
right.
night.
He absolutely buzzed the tower and made zero contact whatsoever. Absolutely made no contact. And so
We also didn't have VAR in the way we have it today in 2017, because if you did, you'd had you had a lot of complaints throughout the 2017 season with different calls.
if I could spell Toronto FC 2017. So the swim move. All right. So let's go FB. Well, no, I need numbers, people. So number 15 was the one who got the tower buzzed. Oh, Zavaleta. So Zavaleta apparently was the one who got the tower buzzed in 2017, and Yamil completely and totally misses him, and so it looked like it was 15. So it looked like it was Zavaleta. So or Mark Pais. Hang on just a second. Wait a second. Where's Mark Pais? Oh, he's a keeper. What is that? That's just okay. So Zavaleta, unless otherwise notified. But anyway, yeah. So the swim move where nothing happened, and it looked like Yamil just absolutely buzzed the tower. But no, it was the early on non-calls against Luis, I'm sure drove people crazy, because how many times did Luis hit the deck in the first 20 minutes? It was at least 2 where
He hit go ahead.
He got popped and got knocked over twice in the first 20 minutes, and they got no calls. And then Bernardeschi comes in with the little chicken wing from behind, and they don't do anything with that either.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing about it. Yeah, also speaking of Emil Assad, welcome back. He's back in D.C. Didn't work at Católica. I think he was at Católica.
He was at Without Club FC.
Well, I know before that, though.
Yeah.
His last official stop.
Yeah, Universidad Católica. That is correct.
Yeah. And yeah, man, it was a weird game, man, because like there's also the fact that like DC didn't really come out to play much, especially once Atlanta put that counter press on them. DC had zero interest in doing much of anything.
Toronto had it seemed like to me Toronto FC had zero interest in engaging whatsoever. They had no Lorenzo Insigne. So
my sympathy is nil, by the way. I don't like this whole thing of like, well, they were missing so and so. Like, man, Atlanta was missing everybody last year, and I don't remember a game last year, despite all of the injuries, where Atlanta like rolled into random club FC and basically refused to play. Maybe they should have, honestly.
Yeah.
There's probably a couple games where that's exactly what Atlanta should have done, even though they didn't.
For me, in this matchup, it looked like Toronto just wanted to come into town, roll out of the hotel, hop on the bus, get to the stadium, get off the bus, get a point, and get out of town. It was the most disinterested I have seen a team play in quite some time. It's like, okay, we don't have our big gun. We know that they're going to double Bernardeschi, and so we ain't got nothing, so we're just going to come in here. I mean, possession, if you believe in these kind of statistics, possession early at points in the first half was 71 to 72% Atlanta United. Toronto, to me, had zero interest in being in that building. It's like, it's like Marchand. I'm just here so I don't get fined. You get in, you get your point, you go home. That's what I thought Toronto was up to. Legitimately, that's what I thought they were up to in the building. I'm just like, we're here. We're just going to kick the ball around. We're going to let you do most of the work. We're shorthanded. And, thanks for coming. We're going to pick up our point and head home. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, and I think I know a number of people were upset about it as well, it just feels so anti-Bob Bradley from what he has been pretty much his entire existence as a manager.
Yep.
It just felt kind of weird, man. But at the end of the day, if you want to depending on how critical you want to get about it, you won't get real critical about being underwhelming. Point to what Atlanta didn't do in the first 45 minutes. which is they did not bury the game when they had the chance.
Yeah.
Because they had the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Juanjo Purata gets a header on a corner. You had an opportunity, and they didn't do it.
I'm trying to remember my first half highlights. There was the early activity. It was side netting. Barry had a chance early on from Lennon. You had a couple of combinations.
You have the back. You have the back post. You have the one that's a back post corner that is handled real. I think it's Sasetu who gets it off the back gets it at the back post. Really nice touch to Miles Robinson, who skies it from like 6 yards out.
Right.
Right near the end of the first half, you have Juanjo Purata gets a free header on a corner, not like a recycled corner, not a back post and played it back in. Like, it is a direct corner right to Purata's head, and he puts it over the bar.
Mm-hmm.
You want both of those back because you got the opportunities, but you didn't put it in the back of the net.
Yeah.
You got to put those in the back of the net because you're playing a team like that who has zero interest in doing a damn thing. You have to bury them. You have to make them come and play you, because if you don't, what you end up with is after 45 minutes, you come out in the second half and they are able to sit.
Mm-hmm.
They are able to sit deep. They get their opportunity when you get stretched out, and Bernadeschi gets Brad Guzan leaning the wrong way, and you cannot let him be that guy.
Mm-mm.
They did such a good job on him most of the game, but he's that guy who he just needs an inch. And he got that inch, and he got the goal they needed. Thankfully, you got something out of it from Mateus Sasetu putting a ball somehow, off of 2 deflections.
Hey, take
hilariously
it.
So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't apologize for it.
Nope.
No, I'm not suggesting anyone apologize for it.
No.
But yeah, you got something out of it, which is damn sight better than nothing.
Yeah. The numbers, by the way, SofaScore had Atlanta United tied for 3rd highest average SofaScore rating as a team on the weekend. Mateus Osechu, with the goal, had a 7.5. He was tied for 2nd with Brooks and Thiago Almada with the highest number. Mateus, 89 minutes, 95% on his passes, 89 touches, 74 of 78 on passes, 2 key passes, 4 for 4 on long balls. The crosses and the long balls were there all day long for Atlanta United.
And they were underwhelming. Like, that was a frustrating thing for me watching it. Was they were and look, I mean, some of it is they're just that's what Toronto wanted to give you. They were happy to give you the long ball, or the outside ball. Excuse me. They were packed on the inside. They were happy to let you build on the outside and try and force the ball in.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, they did that because it suits them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going to get those opportunities, Brooks Lennon has to make it work. He has got to be more. He's got to be better with them. The crosses weren't good enough, and you would chalk it up to whatever you want. I'm sure there's some of it that's going to come down to the idea of you want guys moving around maybe better in the box and finding space, but when that's what you're being given, the cross has to be better. And I get it; it's you're crossing into an army of bodies, but there's some of those where, and I think we saw it again Saturday night, in that Mateus said you had a much better game, I thought.
Yeah.
But he played a couple balls out. He played at least one ball out to the right. That he's had a couple balls this year that should have been hockey assist balls.
Yeah.
Where he plays Lennon out on the right, wide open with space to either run or to cut across however he wants, and they're just not able to connect it. And that's something that they're going to have opportunities like that. Like, teams are going to play them like that. They're going to have to be good about taking advantage of those opportunities. And I know you're not going to hit on 100% accuracy. You never do. But you gotta at least get them in the ballpark, man. And they really struggled with that.
The top scorer in SofaScore for Toronto FC, Sean Johnson, a 7
Yeah,
point.
Sean Johnson's the reason it wasn't 3-1.
5 saves, 3 from inside the box on the day. And but the thing, you look at his passing numbers, 10 to 25 from passing on 37 touches, 4 of 19 on long balls.
Yeah, y'all want to know why? Like, y'all want to know like what Sean Johnson can or can't be like? And Sean Johnson's a damn good goalkeeper.
Yes.
Sean Johnson's forte is not exactly dealing with distribution. Like
No.
that's not Sean Johnson's strong suit necessarily. He can be, but like, man, the other night it was not. He really struggled with the distribution.
Yeah, Franco Ibarra had the highest score for Atlanta United on the weekend. It was 104 touches, 94% passing, 78 of 83 for Franco Ibarra, 6 of 7 on long balls, and he was 14 of 21 on duels, winning 10 on the ground, 4 of 5 in the air, 2 fouls, was fouled twice, 2 picks, 8 tackles for Franco Ibarra.
Franco Ibarra was great.
Franco Ibarra, 3 dribbles passed as well. So 8 tackles and 2 picks on the day, 14 duels won by Franco Ibarra.
Franco Ibarra was absolutely phenomenal in this game. Look, you're getting back Santiago Sosa in the coming week.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have some decisions to make though. Especially, and it's a good problem to have because you have schedule compression coming up.
Yeah.
But Franco Ibarra did everything in these 2 games that you could have possibly asked him to do, which is make this decision as difficult as humanly possible for Atlanta United's coaching staff and physio staff to decide, hey, who's going to be on the team sheet when you go to Charlotte.
Yeah.
I think that, man, if Santiago Sosa's there, I don't know how you're not taking him. But they did everything. He just did everything you ask a guy to do in that situation, which is make things ungodly difficult for leadership to decide, hey, how are we going to set this up? And it gets you a really good situation going forward.
Yeah, well, and I know a lot of folks remember the Bernardeschi tackle by Ibarra late. Handful of minutes to go, I believe, where Ibarra basically reminded Bernardeschi that he's in Major League Soccer. He's not overseas anymore.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, man. Like, he's really good, and he seemed, I don't know, he and Rossetti just seemed more confident.
Yeah,
they're able to find space, cause problems. I was really impressed with both of them. Like I said, I mean, is what you need going forward throughout the rest of the season. Like, you need both of them to be confident because you're going to need all hands on deck. And look, you're not. I don't mean to like. You're not going to need everybody for every single game, and you're not expected to win every trophy. But you're going to need bodies left, right, and center, and those guys gave you that.
Yeah, and that's the key here is that with MLS regular season, with Open Cup, with Leagues Cup, you're basically looking at 45 to 50 matches in a perfect world this season. You're going to need, you're going to need Quentin Westberg to be a part of things.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Westberg was your designated U.S. Open Cup keeper for the season. But with all of these competitions, you're going to need all of these guys. So it literally is going to be case-by-case basis as to the kind of play that your opposition has and they're bringing to the table as to what it might look like in the midfield. Is it going to be Santi Sosa? Is it going to be Ibarra? Do you want to have your 6 working forward and engaging in the play? Do you want him to be more of a homebody and just kind of hanging out? And it's like, nah, y'all take care of it. I got your back here, so we're not beating transition or anything like that. I mean, it's great to have these kinds of questions available for you with everyone healthy. And I know that someone asked about Ozzie Alonso and his recovery. Don't have a timetable on that yet. But when Ozzy's healthy, you get that kind of sandpaper to come in and give you a final 20 to shut the door. So that's what you're hunting for here with all these guys and all this recovery. And Giacomakis, Jarrett, got his cup of coffee, which we kind of thought would happen.
Yeah, he did. I thought he was good. It was kind of like it's tough because, I mean, you got the reports that basically he came in Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
He did Friday morning training, which isn't anything like, man, Friday morning before the game, they're not doing anything. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They're not doing a damn thing for Friday morning training because like they're gonna walk through stuff to get ready for the game, but it's not gonna be intense. Nor should it be.
No.
So I mean, the dude flew in late Thursday, had a Friday morning session with the team, which is basically just going to be a walkthrough, and then has to go out there and play. It's going to be tough, man.
Go out there and give me 30. Okay.
Basically, yeah. I need you to go out there and give me 30. Even if it's not conditioning, if anything else, man, he's probably jet lagged and probably tired from all the travel and all the back and forth that comes with the bureaucracy. It's a mess. It's chaotic. I thought he was good, though. I thought they tried to force feed him at times, which I'm not mad about in that situation because you were looking for a goal, and it kind of felt like you needed somebody to come out there and be that guy to grab the game by the balls.
Yeah.
And to be a real threat. And Miguel Berry was, I thought, really good in that game. Giacomakis, I think, kind of carries an air because of the DP tag, because of what he's done in the past. He kind of carries an air of threat about him.
Yeah.
And he brought that. And, we can talk about it more. I don't care. Dude basically like goes out there and proceeds to damn near gets a goal.
Mm-hmm.
If not for a flag coming up.
Yeah. Well, and the conversation has already started. Bart getting warmed up for his Wednesday appearance on the show. He says, "Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Purata was offside." And then
he was offside?
Yeah, according to Bart. And then, of course, Ricky, who's keeping an eye on the Twitch pitch, he says to Bart, "Like all refs, you're incorrect, sir." LOL. So yeah, we're having these kinds of conversations. But Ricky says, "I know it's not the most important thing because of that crap offside call, but Gigi's movement after the shot from Purata was super quick. It was perfect. He moved so fast in front of the defender and slammed it home." So
that's what he does. I mean, he likes to float around the box, and you don't rack up goals in those situations without being efficient at it,
Yes. So once again, being the resident official on the show, Bart is already catching, and they're not strays; they're direct shots.
Morning. A stray implies that it wasn't meant for him, and he got caught in the crossfire. Bart's the target here, y'all.
Yes, Bart,
hey, Bart
our resident center ref, Bart, is catching all of the direct fire this morning. Yeah, and so Tom is asking about the penalty shouts. Should have been 2. And I know that we talked, we kind of got into the Etienne one, but yeah, I think that the Etienne moment is far more serious leaning toward a goal, Jarrett, than the onside offside with Purata and Giacomakis. I think that the more that we look at it, I think the Etienne moment is probably closer to a moment for Atlanta United than the goal that didn't happen because of the offside.
Oh, the offsides, it's close then, and she puts up her flag after everything is done. Like the play finishes, she puts up the flag for marking offside. She didn't throw it up immediately, which I thought she had at first.
Right.
I was incorrect. It's close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it sucks because you had like this. Oh hell yeah, we're cooking with gas now. Oh, we're not. Damn.
Yeah,
we're not cooking with gas anymore. It's a great ball from Mamata too. Like that little floated ball to the back post. It's a great ball. But yeah, it's frustrating because you have that one. What was the other? I know the Etienne one. Etienne on his post game seemed very much like I don't want to get fined,
Yes.
but I was fouled.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not take that one lying down.
Yes.
There was, I know. Oh, the other one was people. I didn't think it was a penalty. The late one where Yakimakis just kind of knocked down one of the ball in the air in the box where it's kind of floated to him. Others just both going for the ball, and I think that one was anything to write home about.
Yeah. Once again, I feel like for anything officiating, we should probably just have like a drop screen and have Bart drop in and sit there and analyze on Mondays. According to Bart in conversation with Niall, Nima Sagafi did not have a good game. Inconsistent cautions, true. Tried to manage the game by talking to players, which is what Nima Sagafi does. But it was clear the Toronto players didn't want to listen, so he let them get away with a lot of time wasting in both halves that went unadded and unpunished. Sounds about right.
No, I mean, that's how I felt about it. Like, I was really annoyed by it. Because, yeah, that's what it felt like to me was Toronto was just kind of showing up. Like, Toronto was just there, so they didn't get fined for missing the game.
We got a doctor's appointment at 7:39. We're going to show up and not like it. And
there's a lot of malicious compliance involved in that situation, man. And it was very much it was very annoying because to Bart's point, like they just kind of were there to kind of be heels about it all. And it was really annoying that Toronto didn't want to play and they wanted to make a big deal out of everything. Richie Larea is out there, flopping around still like a fish out of water. Okay, so here's the thing about that. When guys do that, because we saw this with Tejan Buchanan in New England one year, and it really pissed me off.
Why, yes, we did.
When you're flopping around like that, one of my concerns, I don't know if I'm the only one who shares this concern. I don't know if anyone shares this concern with me. I don't know if I'm being out of line. A lot of my concern with that is when you flail your body out like a jellyfish on the beach, I'm nervous that you're going to clip somebody or possibly roll someone up.
Yeah,
because Tejan Buchanan did that once in New England, where I forget what somebody went shoulder to shoulder with him, and he flailed. He threw his body and he flailed, trying to sell it for a penalty or sell it for a free kick, whatever it might be, and damn near rolled up somebody on the back of the leg like an offensive lineman.
Yeah,
it's like Toronto players were all any chance they got to have confrontation, they were about that life, and it was very frustrating. And to Bart's point, Nima Sagafi did one of my favorite things, which is to negotiate with the players, like to have discuss where the line is. Don't throw cards to communicate with the players verbally. And I love when guys do that or girls do that. I love it. But I guess to Bart's point, we can ask him about this Wednesday. Like it seems much tougher to deal with when guys don't want to actually listen. If they're just going to ignore everything you say, then I guess it is kind of a moot point. Yeah.
So that's
Tom, we have not talked about what happened at Anfield yesterday.
No, we have not, but we certainly
mostly because I believe in giving a certain amount of time and respect to the dead.
Yes. So no, that hour number 2, Tom, we will be discussing what happened at Anfield. In addition to what Twitch Pitch thought about the match with Atlanta United and Toronto FC, there's news out of exactly, Bart, touchdown Liverpool. That is absolutely true.
Basically,
and Ten Hag had enough in his post game press opportunity, and so he
probably could have been worse.
Yeah, he let his team have it, and so we'll get into that in hour number 2. We've got news out of Australia, New Zealand, Bart, for hour number 2, and it continues to be the discussion about our friends in Lausanne, Switzerland. I think that's where they're based, and how they continue to shockingly not read a room when they wander into it.
Why?
Yeah. David talking about the head injury stoppage, too. He didn't get hit near the head. Head didn't hit the ground. Jason defended it on the broadcast, but that's one where he should have to wait 2 minutes to rejoin or get a yellow/fine after replay or VAR.
So that one. So that one. Here was my concern with that one. And my question with that one, because I get where you're coming from with it. I think what they were looking at, and I might be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think what they were looking at was like the whiplash effect. Like he didn't get a head contact, but that his head contact, like his head whiplashed back.
Yeah.
And that's what they were worried about.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. I might be wrong.
Well, but I mean, in those situations, what you and we've all been knocked off. We've all been knocked off our legs in the past. It's when you hit the ground and your head snaps back and it hits the surface that you land on. That's what folks are looking at. It's that whiplash effect where your body hits the ground, your head hits the ground, snaps back, hits the ground, and comes back. And that after effect is what we're taking into account. Tom, we'll be talking championship here next year. No, we'll talk championship. You know me; I'm not afraid to talk about the lower divisions in England.
Yeah,
as Tom and Ropes apparently prepare themselves for the inevitable march toward the championship, to be replaced by Burnley and or Sheffield United and a third. So no, we'll talk about it here, and I want to know where Everton continues to be if they are sent to the championship, because it was very, very brave of Everton to start building a $500 million stadium when you're fighting to stay up in the Premier League. I mean, that's certainly a way to go about it. But and having a owner / influencer who has ties to Russian money. But so no, we'll be talking championship here.
Salty bastards in this.
Oh, I know that it's like I said, it's Monday. It's Monday, and so there's nothing wrong with being salty on a Reaction Monday because there's a lot to talk about. Like I said, it's
not.
It's Australia, New Zealand, it's Atlanta United, it's the rest of MLS. It's and to the point, I want to say it was Niall. Who was it? It was yes. Oh no, sorry, Alex. Alex was discussing the match, and everybody, Bart did say touchdown Liverpool, but Alex reminded us that's totally unfair. It's a touchdown and a PAT.
Hey, man, those PATs cannot be taken for granted. Look at the Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh. Hey, I mean, you could be the XFL where you go for 1, 2, or 3, and you don't have to kick the ball.
I think I told you about that, right? The Vegas XFL game, right? Where like the turf at Vegas was so bad where you couldn't.
Yeah, they played it at Cashman, where our favorite llama attached USL Championship side is engaged, the Vegas Lights. But yeah, they're playing the games at Cashman. And with the weather that had been going on, was it last week, Jarrett?
Yeah, I think so. It rained, and it's not supposed to rain. We don't do that. Rain, we don't do that here.
No. And so the game was played at Cashman, and the surface was so bad that they tried to paint the surface. That didn't keep. And then kickers or anybody, had zero footing whatsoever. So it was a bit of an adventure for your Vegas Vipers at a home game the other day. And so, I mean, I will admit that I do watch the XFL. If there's other stuff,
it's not a sin.
No, I mean, it's for me. I like the notion of American football. And I'll, hey, Sunday night, nothing else is going on. I'll sit there and I'll turn it on. I was watching San Antonio and Houston actually last night. So, I mean, it's a very entertaining game, and they actually cleared the total in the third quarter. So, I mean, that's if you're going to, here's your juice box advice for the XFL. If you're going to try and chase after a total, if Orlando is involved, take the under. Because their game had 19 points in it last week, and Orlando's having problems offensively. So
who's in charge in Orlando?
That's a good question. Your Orlando Guardians. Since the New York Guardians drew like 12 people at the Meadowlands, so they moved them to Orlando. Let me see.
I'm telling you, I'll put an XFL team here, please.
Oh, that'd be great.
Better than the AAF team they had. My God, the Legends were just so bad.
T-Buck. T-Buck is your head coach for the Orlando Guardians. Okay.
I just remember that when you had the AAF in Atlanta,
For the half season, it was here.
for the half season, it was here. The head coach was supposed to be Brad Childress, and then he
quit.
didn't. Yeah, he quit. He quit a week or two before the season.
Yeah,
not
inside a week. Yeah.
Yeah, that it wasn't like, hey, I can't do this, I gotta go. But it's early in preseason, so no big deal. No, he quit a week or two before the season, a week before the season started.
That is
just
true.
an absolute dick move from a guy who, just so we're all on the same page, will forever basically look. He is basically the teacher from The Incredibles. Go watch The Incredibles and remember when Dash gets when Dash is having the principal teacher or the parent teacher conference. Brad Childress is that teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Nile, with that information.
Nile is absolutely correct. St. Louis is a market, and the Battlehawks are doing tremendous. And I think they had their first home game this weekend. They have had to start their season on the road.
Yes, Sam. Aaron Murray was a quarterback for the Atlanta Legends and was throwing interceptions at a legendary clip. The only good player on that team was Younghoe Koo.
Yes. Absolutely.
Younghoe Koo had gotten cut by the Chargers, was trying to figure out what he wanted to do, ended up playing AAF for the Atlanta Legends, and was the only player who could consistently put points on the board for the Legends.
Yeah, and we see how it ended up. Yes, and Ricky Ricardo asked when we started talking about Aaron Murray, and he was garbage. That's
a weird career for Aaron Murray, man, because I feel like he is somehow still underrated for what he did at Georgia. He was good at Georgia.
Yeah.
For instance,
then he keeps whining about how Nick Fairley suplexed him.
Well, Nick Fairley did suplex him. That game should have ended with time left on the clock. The referees absolutely should have ended that UGA Auburn game with 30 seconds or a minute left on the clock and just walked it off. Because at that point, both teams were because Georgia runs basically like a zone run to end the game, just so the offensive linemen all have an excuse to pile on and rabbit punch Nick Fairley because they hated him so much. Well, he had suplexed Aaron Murray. There's also a play in that game where he lowers his head and spears Murray in the back. It's a blatant late hit. The game should have ended the game. It should not have continued because people were legitimately going to get hurt or there's going to be an all-out brawl.
Yeah.
They absolutely should have ended that game. But yeah, go back and look at the prayer of Jordan-Air, or Ricardo Lewis. The only reason the prayer of Jordan-Air even happens is because Aaron Murray staged some 21-point comeback in the fourth quarter. It was absurd that Georgia even got back in that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aaron Murray's AAF career was not as good as his UGA career by any stretch.
And Aaron Murray left too much time on the clock, and you had Trey Matthews combining and colliding with Josh Harvey Clemens. So you ended up with
just knock it down.
Yeah,
just trying to catch the ball. Just knock it down.
Tom, they were the fourth team to have this feat. St. Louis City, SC. You get a 3-1 win over Charlotte. By the way, we will have Will Pelagic coming on to start hour number 2 on Thursday. So we'll have Willie P. Style coming in. City became the fourth expansion team in MLS history to win their first 2. Chicago in 98, Sounders in 2009, LAFC in 2018 in front of your sellout crowd of 22,423. So they are team number 4, Tom, to do that. And so let's see. Will was at the Huntsville, at the Hunt City Savannah Clovers match. And apparently, let me go back and see what did Will give a score? Yeah, Hunt City beat the Clovers 2-0 in the preseason. And so good move by Jack Collison. And we're probably going to have to take a trip to Huntsville to see.
Oh, absolutely.
Hunt City. And just a quick memo, and I'm just going to leave it this way. Savannah Clovers, read the room. It goes back about a week and a half.
Yeah, man.
Read the room, Savannah Clovers. That's all I'm going to say about it. You can do your digging on your own, considering that it is a story that has passed. Like I said, it's about a week and a half old. And do better. Do better at introducing your players, Savannah Clovers. Do the research on your own and come up with what I'm talking about. But that's all I'm going to say about it. Just read the room, Savannah Clovers. That's all I'm saying. You turn into a pumpkin now, yeah?
Yeah.
Anything else before you go?
Yeah. Hootie hoo. Guess what? Only one school in the state gets to go to the NCAA tournament this year, and it's the team that a couple of years ago only won one game. Georgia Tech, you cannot have Abdur Rahim. You may not have Amir Abdur Rahim. You are not allowed. You have to suffer with Josh Pastner for a little while longer. I have said it so.
There you go. So congratulations to Kennesaw State for making the field of 64 plus 4. We'll see where you end up. You might be a 15.
I'm hoping for like a 14.
15s and 14s beating 2s and 3s, so nothing's out of the possibility.
I'm hoping for a 14, man. We'll see. It's just nice to be here, and it was fun to watch it end that way because it ended with someone from Liberty having to stand in the corner and watch someone else score.
Mm-hmm.
So, man,
yes.
What a shame. What a shame, Liberty.
See, now I wish. See, that something like that. You need to give me half a chance to sit there and kind of find a rim shot or something.
No,
but
they don't deserve it.
So here we go. How about this?
Yeah.
There you go. How about that? Little Eli Drake to help you out with that rim shot, sir. Oh, that was tremendous. All right, so we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So there's Jared Smith. And so that in turn means that that was the opening kickoff. The opening kickoff went a full hour or 52 minutes or whatever. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, use the code soccer down here 15 with every purchase that you have with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They in turn take 10%, roll it over into youth initiatives, our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So, a little Eli Drake to get you through the morning and lack of a rim shot. So, all right. So let me go through. Oh, I have to read a promo. That's what I've got to do. It's like I can't get ahead of myself here. So I got to find the music. All right. Once again, we're going to put it at 12 because some mornings 12 just seems to be too loud, and some mornings 12 just seems to work, and we'll figure it out. All right, so we'll see what happens this morning with the level of 12 as we read a promo. Sounds a little low. Let me know. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that. Offering a very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that you may have either under the sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you take that masking agent and you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it masks the odor. It doesn't attack the problem like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula all the way down to the molecule. One of two ways that they can come up with a price for you, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website, and this is where I grab my pen. But do us a favor. For those of you who are watching now on Twitch, listening later on the app and on the web, go to the website, lemonize.com, but after the .com, do us a favor, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your problems. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Reaction Monday. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Twitch. Get out your scorecards. on a Monday. See, it's too much of a slam fade. That's the thing that gets to me here. It's too much of a slam fade when it comes to the music. So we'll see what happens. All right. Let's roll through your comments here. And like I said, literally, I'm going back to the top. So please bear with me if there was anything that I missed as we get ready for stuff. Like I said, Will, public service announcement off the top for those of you who missed it. Be careful when cooking steak. If you butter the pan first, don't use too much butter. You might get butter splatter burns. And apparently it still hurts. So it looks like it's not going to blister. That's very, very good. Not going to blister. Will was worried it was going to last night. So we don't like that. And so for those of us who are not good at cooking, we will definitely keep an eye on that. Sean missed the read. Doesn't sound anything like anything outstanding, so you gave me a 6.1. That's very Russian judge of you, Sean. Thank you. Gigi was robbed of the debut goal, according to Sam. Atlanta was robbed of 3 points. He was onside. Like I said, just ask Juanjo Purata on his Twitter account. But, yeah, legitimately, looking at Toronto just, it's like, it's on the schedule. We have to be there. And so, therefore, we're just going to show up. They could not have been any more disinterested in looking like they wanted to do anything offensive. And probably a lot of you who were there, the 42,000, thought that it was. So, yeah, Toronto just showed up, tried to see if there was any kind of a mistake that Atlanta would make, take advantage of it then. Don't care about the stats, don't care about the numbers. We take our one opportunity, and if we're clinical, we get it done. Bernardeschi does that, gets a little space, kicks it in with the left, gets the goal. Give them a 1-0 lead. And from that point, you knew that in addition to what Toronto was doing coming into the match, it was going to be packed in that much more, and it was going to be that much worse. I mean, literally, I swear to God, thought I saw a line of 6. Saw 9 guys in the box with a high line, any chance they got. I should have some commas in there. But, yeah, looked like they just wanted to show up and get out of town. They showed up and got out of town with a point. So congratulations to you. Like I said, this week, looking at the guests, go through a little bit of the air traffic here. Dylan Butler, as always, hopefully, if he gets through all of his high school stuff, because remember, he had the doubleheader, I think, over the weekend, back-to-back, different sports, back-to-back locations. Dylan on Wednesday, Bart on Wednesday. So, Bart, there's your notice. And Will Pelagic will be joining us 10 o'clock on Thursday. We've got to figure out Thursdays with Nico. 9 o'clock on Friday will be normal. Beyond Goals will be at 9:30. And if it's Michael Parkhurst, we'll ask him about putting that video together that was on the Halo board before the match started. Weekend Whip Around kicks in at 10. Hopefully we'll be joined by someone who on a weekly basis as well in that 10 o'clock hour. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be from Macon, because Tuesday afternoon I head down for the basketball championships. And so you will be seeing an incredibly hotel-like background on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with me. Down in Macon, we'll be doing the show as normal, hard out at 11:05, because at that point I have to pack up the computer and head to the Macon Coliseum for the broadcast. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from Macon. Shows will not change. We'll have, like I said, we went through the guest rundown, and so that's where we are this week when it comes to everything getting you ready for the match in Charlotte on the weekend. So that's the traffic for the week. So not a whole lot of different, just location different Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it'll be good. And by the way, it was good to see. It was good to see Parzival and good to see everybody in the halls after the match was over. And thanks for all the kind words about stuff on the Halo board and the kind comments about my new co-host, my new friend Joe Freihofer, who's going to be doing some stuff on social for Atlanta United, and he's going to be doing the stuff with me on the Halo board, the halftime with Five Stripes Live. So Joe's going to be all over the place. So keep an eye on him. Follow him on Twitter and all of the other social media as well for what he's doing with Atlanta United. So Joe Freihofer's hanging out with me this season down at Mercedes-Benz. So that's where we are. Going after the action on the pitch, Ricky Ricardo, refs on MLS 360 couldn't even defend it. So, and thank you for tracking down the bot that we had 9 minutes into the show. Yeah, Alex, the elbow to Luis's face and nothing. Yeah, so it was more contact than Yamil Assad had on Eric Zavaleta 6 years ago. So, once again, you got a team that doesn't want to play. They get a lead. They're going to pack it in, and it's going to be on you to try to figure out what to do. And it was incumbent on Atlanta United to try to figure out ways to get inside the 18. And so that's where it was with that. Emilio was wondering if midfielders can advance the ball by doing it themselves. Both Ibarra and Josechu did that for the first time ever instead of padding stats with lateral and backward passes. But it's not stat padding, Emilio. It's part of what you're trying to do to maintain possession. It's not just going to be one and done. What you're doing. I mean, sometimes if it takes 15 to 20 passes to get something done, it's going to take 15 to 20 passes. I mean, just watch Manchester City. Watch what we see from any team that wants the ball. You're going to see all of the movement and trying to keep possession and keep it away from the other guy. And I know that Toronto FC's disinterest kind of adds to that, but just in general, keep an eye on how many times when Atlanta's in possession, just as a guidepost, how many times you see just movement in general. And I'm talking, I'm not just saying, okay, teams packing it in. I'm talking movement with purpose and possession with purpose. So check and just, kind of put them off to the side just as an idea. How many times you'll see Atlanta United in possession, and it will take some buildup. It'll take a couple of passes. You want to get out of your own attacking, your own defensive half fairly quickly. But when you're in the attacking half and the attacking third, how many passes it's going to take, to sit there and come up with the opportunity that you're hunting for. Yes, Emilio. Welcome back to Yamil Assad, and it'll be interesting to see how he thinks he's going to get integrated, but we'll see what happens. Will, the only time I can think of Atlanta doing anything close to that was Red Bulls in the playoffs at RBA, and that was more Tata trolling Red Bulls. And thank you for referring to them as RB and J, Will. Thank you for that, considering that's what they are, at least on this show. That's what more Tata trolling and RB and J to make them try to put the ball down 3. Tafka, feel like teams know the best tactic is to just let us have the ball and counter us for goals. Seems awfully effective. But no, like I said, when you're up a goal and you're the road team and you're up a goal, you're going to pack it in. But I think Toronto FC was a more extreme case of anything where we're only here so we don't get fined. We got a goal. We got a lead. And we're just, literally, it's just like, we don't want it. Ball's got cooties. It's almost like playing Red Bulls in a way. But Toronto was more disinterested, it seemed, in doing anything in the attacking half. Unless it was a chance in transition and you got numbers, nope. See ya. But no, Emilio, no, it's, in your mind, best game we played since FTB without the ability to score. Sam. Look dangerous the whole game. Like what I'm seeing. Just need to find the finishing, and hopefully Gigi can give you that. Correct. That's what you're hunting for. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. I saw that on Twitter, Tom. I saw that you mentioned that you feel that the refs. So if it's not, we always refer to it as liquid courage. So if it wasn't liquid courage, what was it at the break? I guess that's the question for us, considering we didn't think that they were courageous. Niall, if anything, Toronto should be more concerned since this can't hold and can't seem to be effective without Insigne. Yeah. Without Insigne, I think you've seen early on that if you're going to get to Toronto, and first off, they got to figure out their backline. Backline's got problems, and it's just Petretto and Hedges and that group trying to figure out who they are and what they're doing. And you see it, obviously, with any team early in the season. They're trying to find their rhythm, trying to figure out who does what where. You're trying to get those symbiotic relationships, and you're trying to figure out your mental telepathy. And in match number 2, when you've got a whole bunch of new faces in front of Sean Johnson, and Sean Johnson being a new face, you're still trying to figure it out yourself. Aside from that, I still think that Toronto FC was completely disinterested in being in Atlanta playing a match against Atlanta United. Hey, we got a goal on the board. Fine, we're going to pack it in even worse. We're not interested in doing anything, and it was evident that they were not interested in doing anything unless it was a blatant transition opportunity. And then with the counter pressure that Atlanta had getting the ball back quickly, Toronto literally was on their heels. And like I said, you get that one chance, Bernardeschi, that's all he needs. Then you're going to pack it in even worse, and Atlanta had that much of a higher mountain to climb. But yeah, the Etienne shout, we talked about that in the first half of the show. A lot of folks are looking at that, looking at offside with Purata and Gigi, and I know that all of you are having great conversations with our resident official, with Bart, this morning about it. So that's the fun part. I think Brad might have been a little screened. I think he might have been a little screened, Tom. That's in trying to look at it. There was one angle that showed, I think it was Gutman, and then Bernardeschi kind of, it looked like there were a couple of bodies there. I thought Brad might have been a little screened. Let's see. Yeah, and that was the thing. Sam, Gutman was there, and then Bernardeschi takes that extra step, gets that extra space, and that's all. Literally, it was about that much space. And I'm holding my hands about, 12 to 18 inches apart, depending on what you're looking at. And if you're looking at this on Twitch or if you're listening, it's about 12 to 18 inches. That extra is what he needed. Niall, not on Brad. Defense could have done more to help close him down. Martha, you got to try to figure out, you said too many crosses. But when you're packing it in, you got to figure out ways to try to, get the ball inside the 18, get the ball inside the 6, work back post. You've got to try to figure. You have no choice. If they're packing it in, then you're on the outside. You got to figure out ways to try to introduce it inside the 18. So, yeah, if you're packing it in, that's kind of ends up being your starting point in trying to figure out how to get things done offensively. I know that Michael Valverde is also talking crosses, but I know that Michael's also interested in finding out about what folks are doing for the Charlotte match. So keep an eye on Michael and let him know what's going on so he can hang out with the 17s that make the trip north on Saturday. Rick, you wish he had the number of how many crosses there were from when Etienne and Gigi came on. David, teams force us wide to chip in the short cross, low hard back pass to the spot keeps getting knocked down because of the bodies that are there. And I think that what you'll see, David, is that activity of getting Gigi up into the air because, once again, you've got that presence. He's got the hop. So I think that's probably what you'll see. Niall, I agree with you. Miles does look great. Let's see. Nix, I agree. I think hopefully Gigi as a target will help. Definitely, no doubt about it. And Tom, yeah, another keeper stood on his head against you. Let's see. And we talked about, yes, Sean Johnson was a beast. Damn him. Absolutely. And Ricky, like I said, and this is, I think, the question that you and Coco and a lot of others had, when Sosa comes back, does he automatically get put back in? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's got to be earned during the week of practice. But also, I think you're looking at matchups too. I think that you're looking at, okay, is Franco Ibarra going to be the guy that can give me what I'm looking for against Team X? And I don't mean the team that would be like if you've got like a group of guys going up against Speed Racer. I don't mean Team X, but specifically the opponent that you have in the upcoming week. What does it look like? What do they look like? And then there, in turn, would having Santi Sosa be more of a benefit, or would Franco Ibarra be more of a benefit? Right now, I would go with Franco Ibarra because of what he has shown you the last couple of weeks. But unless Santi Sosa does something Monday through Friday that gets you ready for Saturday, where you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to start Santi, then, But no, I think right now you're seeing from like what we saw with Josechu and Ibarra, I think that's what you're hunting for. So, and you're Ricky, to your point, can't see that being automatic. So, and hopefully Gigi and Etienne can start. Outside of that, keep it the same. I imagine probably against Charlotte, you might start Giacomakis, and if he can give you 45, you start him. maybe if he gets you into the second half, give you an extra 10, then you bring in, Barry or whatever change of pace you're hunting for at that point. So we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, and just Jason, it's about being clinical. Absolutely. Frustrating teams still score with so few chances, and wasting chance after chance for Atlanta United. Yeah, and Miguel Berry did look good. So I think that what you're looking for, I think that, you have in Miguel Berry someone who's different from Giacomakis, and I think that that's what you're hunting for. You're looking for those halves to make the whole. On the left, Etienne and Wiley. In the middle, Barry and Giacomakis. On the right, Luis with Brooks coming in from the outside. So, and then you have Thiago coming in, working the middle and doing whatever he sees fit to do, and Andrew Gutman coming in with the inside runs. And so, how many folks did we mention? So, left wing, center striker back, Almada, your 9, your wing. So that's 5 right there, and then Lennon makes 6. So you get 6 dudes that you have as a part of your offensive firepower at any given moment. So that's what Atlanta United in a perfect world healthy is what you're hunting for. Let's see, Martha, a lot to improve, but admittedly had a good time on Saturday. Fun to watch, even though you felt like we should have beaten Toronto easily. Yeah, well, because Toronto didn't show up. Yeah, there is that thought, but once again, Toronto. The more that I was watching the first half, and when I'm in the building getting ready for the halftime show, I'll pull back the curtain here. Go break the fourth wall. We're in a conference room, and I have the big monitor that is paired with the Apple TV Plus broadcast. And since I'm asking that, let me know what you guys continue to think about Apple TV Plus as we go. It's like a developing story all season long, especially early on. What do you guys think? For those of you that watch Season Pass, what do you think? I'm watching the match, and I'm, constantly in communication with my producers, trying to sit there and figure out, okay, what's the halftime show going to look like? What's the highlights? All this kind of stuff. What's the scan of hot play? And the more that I watched the first half on that monitor, and as much as you saw what Atlanta United wanted to do, Toronto, not interested. Not interested at all. Zero interest. I feel like Jim Herrick in Survive and Advance. And he's got that many points. Not interested at all in wanting to be there. And so it's just like, it's like we don't want the ball. If nothing's developing for us, you can have it. But the pressure was there for Atlanta United to get the ball back quickly, so it wasn't just Red Bulls-esque where they're just punting it long and the ball's got cooties. It's like, okay, we've got possession. Atlanta United gets it back. So Toronto's on their heels, and they're disinterested in doing anything unless the opportunity is so blatantly obvious. I mean, there was one pass, I want to say it was from Bernardeschi to Dio in a transition, and the ball was going as a cross, and Dio wanted it straight north and south, and Dio didn't last that much longer. And that was my concern about Dio anyway. Adama Diomande up top is I didn't know how fit he was, and I didn't know. I mean, in what you saw from Toronto FC, basically standing still, you could figure that someone would kind of hang out and you'd be okay. But Dio had a hamstring problem, and he lasted 43 minutes. So Bob Bradley had to burn a sub and burn a window late in the first half to boot with all that stuff. So yeah. Yeah, Toronto had zero interest in being there whatsoever. It's like being paired on a date for a formal with someone that you barely know, and you're just kind of like, okay, we got the dinner reservation. Here's the corsage. All right, let's see. So when can I get out of here? So that's what I thought I was staring at the more I was looking at Toronto in the first half. Coco, been pleased with Barry. Dude already lives up to his price. Man, like I said, with Nick's, glad to see, not your Aunt Martha. I'm glad you guys got to catch up with each other. Like I said, it's great to see everybody there in the concourse and all that kind of stuff that, we all get to kind of see and read each other on a daily basis. Yes, Ozzy on Twitter. Definitely, Niall. Definitely Ozzy on Twitter. And like I said, Emilio, yeah, if Ibarra can stay healthy and consider starting him over Sosa. I know that you've got questions about Sosa just because of, injuries and being injury prone. But, like I said, right now, you go with the group that gets you where you're going. And that means right now it's Josechu and Ibarra. And what we're seeing with Ibarra as your defensive midfielder. Guy's got some sandpaper in him. As we saw, 8 tackles. 8. It's the highest number of tackles I've seen in quite some time. And I know that a lot of folks, like I said, in first hour, I know that a lot of folks remember the tackle on Bernadeschi. So keep an eye on all that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right, we talked about Gigi and his movement. Yeah, we talked about the penalty shouts. Yeah, and Niall, once again, you're spot on. Toronto's lucky even to get a result because their time wasting was bad. So but that's the thing. When you've got a lead, you treat it like it's CONCACAF o'clock, which is perfect. It's perfectly, that is perfectly your prerogative. Perfectly your prerogative to do that. Absolutely. That is completely your shtick. You want to do that, that's cool. And that's if that's how you're wired and that's what you think, then more power to you. Gotham FC is reporting that Midge Purse has signed a new contract extension with Gotham, so she'll be hanging out with Gotham FC for quite some time. That didn't quite get us into the breaking news sounder stuff, but it is all over the board. Like I said, let me keep going through the what you guys were talking about this morning, and and Sam, I think that you're spot on. I think with some fine tuning and more time, the team's going to be a real threat, and they have the opportunity to do that. Starting up against Charlotte, who was kind of there. I mean, they lost 3-1 first 2 weeks. I know that when we catch up with Will Pelagic on Thursday, I know that he will have had the gauge of the fans over this first 2.5 weeks of the season. And there's probably, the fans think there's probably a lot to be desired, a lot left to be desired. So we'll see what happens with Charlotte. We need to talk about Anfield. We need to get into that. Let's see. Like I said, I'm sitting here and I'm scanning through what we think. Ricky, Cashman's not a good field. They don't have many other options. Should have tried and played at Bishop Gorman. Is Bishop Gorman wide enough? Because I know that there's a track around it. And I know Bishop Gorman's also turf. But how wide is it? That would be my first question. Does Bishop Gorman's soccer team play, if they have a soccer team, do they play there on that surface? That would be the biggest question for me. Not your Aunt Martha, no doubt. Shout out to Don Staley and the South Carolina women's basketball team yesterday. Love watching them play. Yeah, and it's always fun to see what Dawn has built there at South Carolina. Let's see. Legends never die, even if it's for interceptions. Absolutely. Burned. Jack will coach in Major League Soccer one day or in the championship back in England. Wouldn't surprise me if he built his resume here and he went back home. That's just my gut. I hope he stays here. I always enjoyed catching up with Jack. And as we get closer to the beginning of MLS Next Pro season, I think the schedule is going to be released this week. There are some teams in their press releases that have to do to come across my desk that have to do with MLS Next Pro, and they're talking about their two teams, their two sides, second sides. They do have their season premieres announced at the bottom of the release. It's like the 26, 27, somewhere in there. So keep an eye on all that. But yeah, when things roll through with our friends in MLS Next Pro, we will try to get you as prepped for the twos as we can, and we'll get into that. So we'll keep that going as well. Coco, St. Louis has looked not awful, and that's true too. The match against Austin, for me, frankly, was a surprise. catching Austin, on their heels as much as they did in the game at Q2. And then, we know what we're getting from St. Louis. It's going to be very, very Red Bulls-esque. And it just so happens that the match against Austin, I think, was the surprise of the two. And Charlotte's having problems on the road. Like I said, when we have Will Pelagic on Thursday, we'll break all this stuff down and talk about Charlotte for the first two matches and get ready for that. Ricky, what they won't tell you in the prayer at Jordan here, Sammy Coates was wide open 30 yards to the left before Nick Marshall let it rip. Yes, Bart, we'll let you know. When we head to Huntsville, when we head to Hunt City, we will definitely let everybody know and turn it into a field trip. Sam, I think it's more of the latter. You're asking if St. Louis is for real or is it just luck and Charlotte not clicking right now? Didn't watch the game, so I don't know. It's more the latter, I think. But or it could be a combination of both, considering what we talked about with the match in Austin. So let's just say both for now. Kind of for real. Got the full result against Austin, and then Charlotte probably hasn't been impressive if you ask their fans coming out of the blocks this season. So we'll see what's up. But I think it's a combination of two. Charlotte's just not been very good. All right, so let's see what we've got going on. Let's see. Bart, lost at 3 points ourselves, continue to give up easy goals, choosing to make goal scoring hard on ourselves. Not sure if we changed much once Gigi came in, looked a bit more dangerous on the 8,700 crosses. Okay, so 4-card. The star sets the bar. Okay, what Parky says. All right. All right, so let's see. As I said here, I'm scanning comments before we get into. Yes, that is absolutely true. As Jason always says, it's a World Soccer show based in Atlanta. That's why we always call ourselves Soccer's Morning Show, because we talk about a lot of stuff. We always talk about a lot of stuff that's on our minds on Mondays, and all that kind of good stuff. Let's see. Martha, I think I said on Saturday, expect us to get results in 6 of the 8 matches. Front office wants us to have high expectations. I've got them. Bring it on. Good deal. And, okay, Charlotte with the early Christmas gifts. All right, so we're officially caught up. So as we continue to roll through here on the Twitch pitch, we will do that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about, at least to start. And one of the other things. Let's see. Joe Prince Wright is reporting Graham Potter confirms Christian Pulisic is in the Chelsea squad to face Borussia Dortmund in their Champions League last 16 second leg tomorrow. Quote, Christian's in the squad. He has trained. He's training well and looking good. And, okay. Now, this morning, I don't know how many of you get the Sydney Morning Herald. And there was a story that came out this morning in that newspaper. It came out when we were all asleep, but has to do with our friends at FIFA and what we're seeing for the upcoming Women's World Cup. So Vince Rigari, Sydney Morning Herald. And it looks like the Saints have emerged as frontrunners to sign Derek Carr. Good for them. Okay. Headline. FIFA poised to scrap visit Saudi sponsorship for Women's World Cup. Here's Vince Rigari's piece. FIFA could be set to abandon plans for Saudi Arabia's tourism arm to sponsor the Women's World Cup after a ferocious response from co-hosts Australia, New Zealand, and some of the highest profile players in the women's game. Global governing body is still yet to even publicly acknowledge the mooted deal more than 2 months on from initial reports by The Athletic, which said Visit Saudi would be unveiled as a tournament sponsor. Triggered a wave of immense criticism from both Football Australia and New Zealand Football, who demanded immediate clarification from FIFA and said neither federation has been consulted. Matilda's players largely avoided public comment on the issue. The coach did too. Remember that when we talked about it first time? Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe described it as bizarre, totally inappropriate, and outrageous, considering Saudi Arabia's heavy restrictions on rights for women and ban on same-sex relationships, while Dutch striker Vivian Miedema said FIFA should be, quote, deeply ashamed for even considering it. The scale of the backlash has shocked FIFA. Once again, this is Vince Rigari's words. According to a source familiar with the tournament's planning who was not authorized to speak publicly. The source also claimed the Gianni Infantino-led organization was now considering ways to reshape, that's the word, the Visit Saudi agreement and find a solution before next week's FIFA Congress in Rwanda. It could, according to the source, involve the sponsorship being instead attributed to another Saudi-related entity rather than the kingdom's tourism body, which would also address separate fears in Australia and New Zealand that the co-hosts' ambitions to promote their own countries as holiday destinations could be overshadowed by another nation. You know, like I said, this is just me. When you think about it, okay, so what you could see from FIFA is the idea that, okay, tell you what, we're not going to have it be Visit Saudi. We're going to have it be something else Saudi. We're going to pull back the tourism idea and then come up with something else tied to Saudi Arabia that could sponsor the Women's World Cup. Think about that for a second. Beat 2, 3, 4. So FIFA continues with this notion, in theory, that Visit Saudi would not be your primary sponsor for the Women's World Cup, but it'll be another Saudi-related element, in theory, possibly, probably, maybe. Once again, FIFA, read the room. This is me just thinking out loud here. I don't think I'm far off base. Maybe, perhaps, probably, there shouldn't be anything tied to Saudi Arabia and the tournament, period, even if it has nothing to do with tourism. Rigari's article continues. New Zealand football chief executive Andrew Pragnell said he thought FIFA was having a rethink, quote, in quotes, of the mooted visit Saudi deal, based on their response last week to a letter sent almost a month ago by the chairs of the Australian and New Zealand federations. Quote, I found the response fairly ambiguous. Sidebar, welcome to FIFA 5-paragraph essays and press releases. And we return to the quote. It didn't confirm nor deny the potential Visit Saudi sponsorship that has been reported in the media. Pragnell told New Zealand media on Friday. Quote, it did allude to the importance of treating all member associations equally and the importance of engagement as opposed to isolation. Other than that, it stated that they'd be reaching out through their media and partnerships team for further conversations. We're left in a little bit of uncertainty as to what's going on here, to be frank, which is a bit disappointing. Anything further, I say, would be speculation because I don't know. But clearly our letter, given the delay in the response and the absence of confirmation or denial, has caused some form of rethink in FIFA about the issue, end quote. Rigari continues. If FIFA persists with the Visit Saudi deal, it runs the risk of having big-name players or even entire teams staging protests during the Women's World Cup. Yep. Quote, Football Australia has consulted on this matter with key stakeholders, including government and commercial partners, and it was an overwhelming consensus that this partnership does not align with our collective vision for the tournament and falls short of our expectations, end quote, said Football Australia Chief Exec James Johnson, who together with FA Chair Chris Niku impressed their disappointment to Infantino at the recent Asian Football Confederation Congress in Bahrain. Quote, whilst the partnership has not been confirmed by FIFA, based on the consultations we've had with our community, key stakeholders, and our own position, we would not be comfortable with it. Thank you for saying that publicly. While we await further clarity and information as to the details of the partnership from FIFA, we continue to convey this clear message on behalf of Football Australia, New Zealand football, and our community, end quote. Meanwhile, Infantino has admitted FIFA learned lessons from the Men's World Cup in the nation that it was in, and flagged the likelihood that captains at the Women's World Cup will be able to wear the same rainbow armbands it had banned 4 months ago. The One Love armbands, intended to promote inclusivity and featuring a multicolor design, which is distinctly different from the Rainbow Pride flag, were set to be worn in the country by the skippers of 8 European teams, but were banned at the 11th hour by FIFA, who warned that any players who flouted the ban would be yellow carded. Infantino. What I can say on this issue is I think we all went through a learning process there, end quote. Said on the weekend at a meeting of the International Football Association Board, so IFAB. At an IFAB meeting, he said this. He continues. What we will try to do better this time is to search and look for dialogue with everyone involved. The captains, the federations, the players generally, FIFA, from all over the world, to capture the different sensitivities, to explain, to exchange, and to see what can be done in order to express a position, a value, or a feeling that somebody has without hurting anyone else. In a positive way, we are looking for a dialogue, and we will have a position in place well before the Women's World Cup. I hope so, end quote. Gianni Infantino, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll keep an eye on that with the Women's World Cup. That was from Vince Regari, Sydney Morning Herald this morning. Okay, so that was today's word salad brought to you by FIFA. Now, I know that a lot of folk. Okay, so Bart, why does Saudi need to be a sponsor of the tournament? Just because of the money? Not sure this has been allowed or happened before. It's disrespectful to the host nations on top of the individual players. Yes, absolutely true, Bart. Absolutely true. But here's my thought. We'll see if this is anywhere close. There is an idea that Saudi Arabia has what they're referring to as the 2030 initiative. That's the thing where they're trying to have all these kinds of events, and they've signed on CR37 to be an ambassador. And they're trying to have 2030 as their benchmark. Vision 2030 is what it's referred to as officially by Saudi Arabia. Creating a vision for all is what they're trying to do. Bunch of different projects. And here's the overview that's attached to it. Ambitious vision for ambitious nation. The overview. Under the leadership of the custodian of the two holy mosques, Vision 2030 was launched, a roadmap drawn up by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to harness the strengths God bestowed upon us, our strategic position, investments power, and place at the center of Arab and Islamic worlds. The full attention of the kingdom and our leadership is on harnessing our potential to achieve our ambitions. There's a big thing, vision2030.gov.sa. And so it's this big thing. Build a foundation during which unprecedented reforms were made in the public sector's operating model, the economy, and society as a whole. Laid the foundations of success for the future. Worked on improving the effectiveness and response of the government, unlocked opportunities for growth and investment, opened Saudi Arabia to the world, built and launched platforms for future growth, increased citizens' quality of life. These achievements belong to the sons and daughters of this great nation. So, using investment power to create a more diverse and sustainable economy, strategic location to build its role as an integral driver of international trade and connect the three continents, Africa, Asia, and Europe. Vibrant society, thriving economy, ambitious nation. Those are the three themes. So, Saudi Arabia is trying to, with their Vision 2030 program, reduce dependence on oil, diversify the economy, develop public service sectors such as health, education, infrastructure, recreation, and tourism. Oil revenue accounts for 30 to 40% of the real GDP right now for Saudi Arabia. And so projects and initiatives are through the PIF. Saudi Arabia PIF, sound familiar? Organizes an annual investment forum. So they're focusing on 2030 as this hub for the next stage for Saudi Arabia as a world power. So you're going to see a lot of effort by Saudi Arabia to try to become more of a player on the world stage publicly, not just through their resources. That's why they signed CR37 as an ambassador. They want to try to get the World Cup there in 2030. So what you're going to see is a lot of effort done by the nation under Vision 2030 to try to sit there and say, hi, we're Saudi Arabia. We can unify 3 continents. We want to be a global player. You're going to see a big push for them to get the World Cup. And I think 7 years out, it's 6 or 7 years out. So we're coming close to a 2030 announcement, say in the next year or so. Keep an eye on this. So you will see Saudi Arabia investing in itself in various ways to try to present themselves as a public player on the world stage. Investing money in global competitions is a way that they're going to go about it. So what you're seeing is a part of this partnership with Saudi Arabia and FIFA, possibly this investment by whatever arm they thought was appropriate, pairs themselves up because once again, I mean, let's think about this from a promotional perspective. And Bart, I'll get to your second comment as well here in a second. If I'm a business, well, let's just think about it strictly from a business perspective. And I know that we also need to talk about Liverpool and Manchester United before we go. If I'm a business and I want to promote my business, and I know what I want one of my end games to be as I've continued to invest in sport. Like I said, we mentioned the PIF a couple minutes ago. Let's just think about it from that promotional element, promotion and investment. If I am Saudi Arabia and I have Vision 2030, they're going to try their damnedest to try to have the World Cup there in 2030. So to have the World Cup in Saudi Arabia in 2030, who do you have to dance with? You got to dance with FIFA. FIFA, seeing the value of what the tournament was on the men's side in the country that it was in, that screwed things up and had us messing up our soccer calendars for an entire month in the wintertime. Sorry, late fall, early winter here. You're going to see efforts like this attached to Vision 2030 and the PIF to sit there and draw attention to what you're trying to do. Like I said, you can go on the Bastion of Journalistic Integrity Wikipedia. They've got a short version of Vision 2030. Vision 2030 has its own website, and that's what I was trying to read from just a bit ago. You will continue to see from Saudi Arabia as a country and as a business and as a business partner, someone who wants to sit at the table. They're going to want to invest in things. FIFA's going to be like, okay, sure, cool. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. And I'll say it right now, mark the tape, March 6, 2023. FIFA will be seriously in the discussion for the 2030 World Cup, if not getting it. And what we talked about being the gateway from their own Vision 2030, that is going to be one of their linchpins. We're a unifier of 3 continents. What's one of the best things about unifying 3 continents? The games that you play. So we can have this fantastic unifier of all peoples, the sport of soccer, be this hub for 3 continents of discussion, bring the best teams from around the world in this 48-team format, and be a representative and be the hub of activity for the 3 continents that we touch and all the other continents that participate in this grand sport. We look forward to being that representative in 2030. Keep an eye on this. So FIFA, seeing a dance partner, was like, okay, cool. You want to invest? Let's see how we can get you to invest. The tone deafness of the Visit Saudi idea, if in fact it was the idea, possibly, probably, maybe, as of yet unconfirmed, puts them ahead of the line of Australia and New Zealand's own tourism elements. And like I said, we'll have Bart on the show on Wednesday. Let me don't meet FCC standards. FIFA doesn't have to participate in Saudi's manifest destiny, but if they see a dance partner and they see dollar signs and they see a long relationship with someone that's got a decent-sized coffer, FIFA's not going to turn that down. And it's another frontier for them to continue to advance as they go forward, both as an entity and as a country, meaning both FIFA and Saudi Arabia. So keep an eye on this. Vision 2030 and Saudi Arabia for the World Championship. And all of the partnerships that we're seeing, sorry, Alex, attached to the PIF and other places. Keep an eye on those as we go forward here. I mean, you're looking at this was announced in 2019, by the way. Saudi Vision 2030, 4 years ago. To advance the Saudi Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia formally announced in September 2019 the issuance of the tourist visa, allowing visitors from 49 countries to visit the country up to 90 days for a fee of $80. That's a part of it. August 2019, lifted travel restrictions on women, granted greater control to those above the age of 21. As a part of their plan to modernize, and this is what it's about too for the nation of Saudi Arabia. They were adopting change to enhance women's rights and gender equality. Once again, this is from our friends at Wikipedia. However, the country is being criticized where human rights groups said all the efforts are not serious, fall within the whitewashing campaigns it is carrying out to improve its human rights record. You've got a bunch of other projects that are on the board that started as far back as 2017. They have 13 different vision realization programs presented by the Council of Economic and Development Affairs back in 2017. Plan supervised by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Name sound familiar? Council of Ministers and a Council of Economic and Development Affairs are all attached to this idea. So keep an eye on this over the next little bit as we head toward 2030 on the world competition. So that's where we are. Keep an eye on it. And so, yeah, the newest example of FIFA being FIFA is letting a tourism arm for another country come in and be the title sponsor for a World Cup where the two host nations are trying to improve their own tourism numbers as well. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and let a third country come in and be a sponsor, usurping the idea of wanting the host country to attract more people as well. And then they're going to rethink it. So we'll see what the rethink entails of this unannounced, possible, probable idea of a sponsorship by a third nation who's angling for a World Cup in 2030 over the top of your host nations trying to improve their own tourism. We'll see what the rethink is. Once again, keep an eye on it. All right. Yesterday, was the worst loss ever. Well, it ties 3 others from the 20s and 30s. By Manchester United at Anfield. 7-0. 7. One more than 6. 3 times in the 20s and 30s, Manchester United lost 7-0. Three times. 20s and 30s. All right. So Erik ten Hag, after the match, called the display unprofessional. Unprofessional is the word that he used. He admitted he's alarmed by it. In response to requests to stop and front up in the mix zone, Bruno Fernandes said he'd already done that live on Sky, so he wasn't going to do it again. Heaviest defeat since Boxing Day of 1931. Competitive for 43 minutes. According to Melissa Reddy at Sky, United threw in the towel with just 50 up on the clock in public. The descriptions he circled were really unprofessional and unacceptable, meaning Ten Hag. The message he shared to the squad was peppered with more colorful language that can't be repeated, which translated to a disgrace. Ten Hag's not going to say, he's not going to let being tired be an excuse. Success is demanding, once again, Reddy writes. Fatigue can explain a drop in intensity or concentration. It does not mitigate a betrayal of doing the basics in the job, prompting Ten Hag to describe this as obviously an unprofessional performance. Stood almost motionless for the final 15 minutes to analyze the performance of my team. How is their approach? How is their character, their mentality, how they deal with setbacks? I look at their body language. Manager underplayed his annoyance with conceding at such a critical game management juncture. Andy Robertson and Cody Gakpo combining for the opener with the halftime break in sight. We talked about how much the team had created. So you were there. You were 1-0. Ten Hag admitted he couldn't properly explain what happened when the teams returned to the pitch, and as one visiting player's agent put it, quote, United lost their heads, legs, and cojones, end quote. In 7 minutes, you went from 1-0 to 7-0. Ten Hag's alarm, quoting Reddy, was not just about the speed of the capitulation, but the manner of it. Having focused so heavily on recruiting, keeping the right characters at United, cultivating a culture of collective responsibility, he was stunned at the senior pros, the reference points, abdicating their duties. Ten Hag even circled that hostile environments drew the best out of his group going into the game. We have many leaders who set the mentality, who set the standards, who control the standards, who correct if necessary. Those leaders did not emerge from the dressing room in the second half. In 2019, according to Reddy, Pep Guardiola detailed the motto, this is Anfield is no marketing spin. There's something about it that you will find in no other stadium in the world. They score a goal, and over the next 5 minutes, you feel that you'll receive another 4. You feel small, and the rival players seem to be all over, end quote. Ten Hag's comments at Anfield is no different, and his players like to play in such atmospheres, according to Reddy, felt like a skit during the second half. And that's without even factoring United haven't been victors at Anfield since 2016, scoring once in their last 8. Sunday's defeat's the third time this season in which United have conceded 4 more goals. Brentford in August, City in the Derby. Ten Hag, quote, I know this team will reset. We have to bounce back, and we have shown in the past we can. If you do the right things, if you react with the right measures as a manager and as a team, you can learn a lot from it and can strengthen your mentality. You have Real Betis and Southampton coming up next. So that's what you're staring at if you're Erik ten Hag. You got whooped. You got whooped 7-0. 7. One more than 6, not quite 8. And the fans were chanting at Anfield, we want 8. We want 8. When was the last time that something like that went down. Bruno Fernandes rubs into a linesman. Was it worthy of a red card? Gary Neville said that Fernandes was an embarrassment. Summed up the thrashing at Liverpool. 6 goals in the second half. 6 goals in the second half. Throughout the second half, Fernandes was criticized by Neville for feigning injury under challenges from Konate and Alisson. Bruno Fernandes, after they scored their 6th, quoting Neville, Bruno Fernandes just stood in the center circle with his arms raised saying, why isn't it me coming off? Honestly, I think some of his behavior in the second half has been a disgrace. Asked to summarize the first 40. The United's display at Liverpool, Neville added, that first 40 minutes was what I would call a classic away performance at Anfield. Manchester United weathered the storm, looked like they were going to get that goal and go ahead at halftime. Second half has been an absolute disgrace, a shambles. They have not been epitomized more than Bruno Fernandes, who's been embarrassing a shambles in this game. But I have to say, it's not their usual performance. It's not their usual spirit and form. Ten Hag will deal with it, I'm sure, like he's dealt with other difficult issues, end quote. On his podcast, Gary Neville says this. If I can find it. There we go. Second half was an absolute disgrace. I'll start with the captain because you are the captain of the football club. Bruno Fernandes can wind you up sometimes because of the way he is, but that was appalling. Appalling in the second half. The rest of them didn't show up. The whole back four was a disgrace. That can't become the norm. That has to be put down as something we never see again. Sam, I would say it's a blip, but 7-0 is not a blip. I think we were flying too close to the sun for too long. Like I said, you've got Real Betis and you've got Southampton. So you can make 3 points part of the deal in Real Betis in European theater. And we also had something in the match that was stupid, and it was cut away from for the most part. Jurgen Klopp was hot about it, as he should have been. Pitch invader who collided with the Liverpool players celebrating their 7th goal has been arrested. Thank God. As the players celebrated the final goal, the fan ran onto the pitch and slipped, colliding with Andrew Robertson, who went down clutching his ankle, although the Scot finished the match. A 16-year-old boy from Winsford has now been arrested on suspicion of encroaching onto a football pitch. Suspicion? I know. It's illegal. Check the cameras. Scheduled to voluntarily attend a police station in Merseyside regarding the incident. Liverpool have said the boy will be banned from Anfield for life. Good. That's a start. There's no excuse, and the club had a statement. It's a couple sentences. No excuse for the unacceptable and dangerous behavior. The safety and security of players, colleagues, and supporters is paramount. The club will now follow its formal sanctions process and has suspended the alleged offender's account until the process is complete. If found guilty, could face a criminal record, lifetime ban from Anfield and all Premier League stadia. Acts are dangerous, illegal, and have severe consequences. Yeah, fan was led away by stewards, got an earful from Jurgen Klopp, who was furious on the touchline as the linesman attempted to calm the German manager. Don't care how old you are. Don't care. You decided that you wanted to charge the pitch of your club, and you could have, and I mean could have, seriously injured one of your players. Seriously could have injured one of your players. So that's, yeah. So when you're looking at, Bart, let's take a look at the numbers. Well, let's take a look at the numbers. Bart wants to know, is Man U out of the title race now, or are they still in the hunt? Let's take a peek at it. And I know that we're going to have to look at the run-in too and see what's going on. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, if you haven't signed up for the Fantasy League, sign up for the Fantasy League. Get your friends to sign up for the Fantasy League. Tables. Let's take a peek. United has a match in hand, 9 points back of Manchester City. I'd say they're out of it. It's Arsenal and Manchester City. Bournemouth, you had it right there. Arsenal 5 points clear, 12 matches to go. Manchester United has 13 matches to go. So match in hand, if they win it, they're at 52. They're 11. They'd be 11 points behind Arsenal with 12 to go. It would take a collapse of tremendous proportions for anything to happen. But I think it's still Arsenal and Man City, and there's still some head-to-head. So I think it's a two-horse race. I said Manchester City at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to stick with that. So Arsenal, Man City, and after Fulham and Brentford today, Prem and Proper will be out tomorrow. So Manchester City match in hand at 49 points. Spurs at 45. Liverpool at 42. Match in hand with the folks above them. They're ahead of goal difference over Spurs by 9. So if they were to win the match in hand, they would be in the last European spot. Europa League would then be a battle with, say, Spurs and Newcastle. Newcastle with 2 matches in hand over some. They'd have to win out. Fulham's in 7th at 39. Brighton's at 38. Brentford at 35. And Brighton and Brentford, they've only played 23 matches. So they could make a charge and be looking at the European places or Europa Conference League. Chelsea's 10th at 34. Villa also at 34, but they're behind on goal difference. And this is group number 3. This is where the fun starts with group number 3. 12 to 20 is where we are right now. Crystal Palace at 27, ahead of Wolves on goal difference. Forest at 26, Leicester at 24, West Ham at 23, Leeds at 22. Relegation zone, as Tom was talking about earlier this morning. Everton in the relegation zone on goal difference. And they got a lot of work to make up there. Minus 19 to minus 11 for Leeds. Southampton, with the win, is at 21. They're ahead of Bournemouth now on goal difference. But you have 12 through 20, 3, 6, 9 teams separated by 6 points at the bottom of the table. Upcoming this week, Crystal Palace, Man City, Wolves and Newcastle, Forest and Spurs, Leicester and Chelsea, West Ham and Villa, Leeds and Brighton, Everton and Brentford, Southampton, Manchester United, and Bournemouth and Liverpool. Don't expect a whole lot of movement down at the bottom, but 9 teams separated by 6 points. Keep an eye on that. Let's see. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what's on TV before we go. Once again, we'll be back at it again tomorrow, 9:05. And once again, if you haven't joined the Fantasy League, join the Fantasy League. Jason Wright Agency on Facebook, Wright with a W. Jason Wright with a W-A-G-E-N on Twitter. Tell your friends. Brentford Fulham on the Premier League. That's at 3 o'clock on Big USA. ESPN Deportes. Osasuna Celta de Vigo at 3. Fox Deportes Liga MX Femenil at 10. Gold TV has the Peruvian Primera at 3 with Deportivo Municipal. 7 o'clock Ecuadorian Primera with Independiente del Valle and Cumbaya at 7 o'clock. So IDV is getting an appearance on Gold TV. If you don't have Gold TV, go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You can grab Fanatis there as well. ESPN Plus has the same match from ESPN Deportes. Paramount Plus, the Argentine Primera, 2 matches at 3, Arsenal, Belgrano, Godoy Cruz, and Racing Club. Defensa y Justicia, Boca Juniors at 7 o'clock. Keep an eye on that. Serie A doubleheader, Sassuolo Cremonese at 12:30, Torino and Bologna at 2:45. Remember, this week you've also got Champions League. You've got CONCACAF Champions League. That kicks off as well. So you've got all of that stuff it's going to be a very, very busy week of watching things when it comes to all of the action going on in the sport that we talk about every day. So here's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. Manchester United monitoring Tammy Abraham, but his former club Chelsea have first refusal to re-sign him, having negotiated the €80 million buyback clause when they sold him to the Serie A squad. West Ham 1 point above relegation, but the Hammers do not intend to sack David Moyes. 4-letter paper says that, so take the information at your own peril. Newcastle confident of agreeing to a new deal, which will keep Bruno Guimaraes at the club long term. James Maddison is on Newcastle's short list of summer targets, along with Scott McTominay. PSG's Kylian Mbappe says he's very happy at the club. Future not linked to the champions' progress in the Champions League. Arsenal forward Reece Nelson's contract runs out in the summer, and while talks about extending the deal are set to continue, an agreement is not close. According to our friends at 90 Minutes, I think after the strike against Bournemouth, they might try to get a little closer. Barcelona want to sign Borussia Mönchengladbach's Marcus Thuram on a free. Arsenal defender Pablo Mari's loan move to Monza included basically a £6 million transfer fee. If the Italian club avoided relegation from Serie A, currently on course to do so. Oxford United set to make an approach to Charlton Athletic for manager Dean Holden after they parted company with Carl Robinson. 4-letter paper, take the information at your own peril. Lastly, the race to sign Lyon's midfielder Hossein Ouar has intensified. Napoli joining AC Milan, Roma, Eintracht Frankfurt, Real Betis, and they're interested in the 24-year-old. So that's where we are. That's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. And then Tom, Everton's problem is you look at the schedule, can't see where points are coming from. So it's going to be tight. I'll keep an eye on that. Once again, thanks to everybody who popped in this morning. And the breaking news, if you missed it off the top of the show, 2 million lives and downloads from our history here on Spreaker. And thanks to all of you guys for being a part of the family, being a part of the Twitch pitch, being a part of the Discord, being a part of the discussion on a daily basis. And thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, and we'll talk about stuff. It's the official term. 9:05 Soccer's Morning Show returns with me, Jarrett, and Nick, and everybody else that's attached to it as well. So for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick, I'm just John. Play it safe, everybody, once again. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 9:05, and since it is the end of the show, that means that I get to do this. Mucha plati, I'll play it safe, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning in 22 hours or 21 hours and 58 minutes. We'll see you tomorrow.